Hey, it's Chris. Want to give you some thoughts on the new MacBook Pro announcement. Really, there's only ever been one reason to buy the MacBook Pro. It's just for the power. That's it. Literally everything else is built around that to enhance it. Every feature, whether that's the new Apple Intelligence here, whether we're talking about the chip, which basically is the power, that's obviously what's under the hood makes it tick, or the battery life. So Apple Intelligence is here and they're pushing it with all their devices, even this really powerful computer, which is kind of funny because you're buying this computer for the chip, for the battery, for the screen. You're absolutely not buying this for Apple Intelligence. You know, like the cheapest device that you can get Apple Intelligence on is the new iPad mini. You might buy that for the Apple Intelligence. This isn't a writing machine, you know? So all the new features that help you rewrite things, reformat, proofread, etc. Again, like those are just nice to have, but they're not exclusive to this chip or to the Pro. I think Siri could be useful for creatives though, who are like searching for particular files or whatever. This helps you see that faster. But as always, if you're into coding, if you're into photo editing, if you're doing STEM stuff, research, you know, certain business applications, design for sure, especially 3D animation, music production, if you're like me, video editing, they're gonna push gaming, you know, but I don't ever really view this as a gaming thing, but some people might. At the moment, Apple Intelligence doesn't really affect, for the most part, you know, 99% of any of those jobs or workflows. So I know for me personally, if I was gonna upgrade this 14-inch MacBook Pro over here, I wouldn't be thinking, oh good, I finally got the Apple Intelligence there. That's not what would make me upgrade. What would make me upgrade is being able to crunch through really intensive, you know, tasks and workflows faster, save some time, and also not have to hit the brakes on my projects, be able to actually move the needle, push the envelope a little bit in terms of my capabilities and what I can do. That's what this computer has always been about, this particular part of the Mac lineup. And in that regard, it's kind of what you would expect, you know, the next version of Apple's great chips that are gonna let you do things not just that you can do on any computer like Excel, but handle professional workloads, whatever those might be. And ironically, I'm actually excited about what you can do in terms of artificial intelligence on MacBook Pros outside of Apple Intelligence, because I like to do a lot of local AI stuff, whether that is something like Diffusion B, or something like LM Studio that requires a lot of power under the hood. You know, Apple talks about privacy. Well, you know what's really private is your own local LLM. And also you can run any model that you want, including stuff that's not censored. So as a prospective MacBook Pro buyer, I am excited about AI, just not in the same ways that Apple is wanting me to be necessarily. I already made a video about Apple Intelligence just the other day, which you can check out, where I say it's very useful. It's just not mind-blowing at the moment, very par for the course, kind of expected in late 2024. I would say aside from the expected bump in processing power, the best new feature here seems to be the battery life. They're presenting this as something you can use all day and all night, like it'll last up to 24 hours. If you're a professional and you're traveling, whether it's locally, like you're going to a meeting, or like a photographer going to a photo shoot or something, gonna be gone for a week and you can't be at home base, maybe where you have most of your processing power, to be able to take this with you and have it last a long time in the field, that's a really big deal. Like people will always pay for extra battery life. And I'm liking the screen setup here. It's so cool to be able to have a nano texture option that matches the studio display back here, which I've got as a nano texture. So, you know, if you have windows around or inflections, I personally really like that. I just did a setup video the other day you can check out as well to find out more details. But you know, sometimes it's nice to go set up outside, and I do actually appreciate the option to have a very bright screen with that nano texture and all the power under the hood to just give me another option for where I can be productive and get things done. Now this is the MacBook Pro, and I gotta say, I actually really like the mic setup and the speaker setup on the Pros. I have actually had times as a video producer where I'll be out in the field and something goes wrong with the mic setup or whatever, and I can rely on Apple's Pro devices, whether it's the iPhone or if I have a Mac on the table in front of me like I have right here, and I can use that scratch audio and make it sound pretty good and really not miss a beat. Like Apple's microphones are pretty freaking good at this point. You know, FaceTime and meetings and stuff, that's one thing, but for professional use cases, I can actually rely on these in a pinch if I need to, and that really matters. Speaking of things that matter, I think the new port situation here is great. We got Thunderbolt 5 here. I specifically left that funny looking external drive dangling out of the Mac over there right now, because at the moment I have to use a Thunderbolt dock to be able to take 4 different external drives from my iPhone setup and plug them in so that I can do some video editing, because when I'm shooting ProRes 4K, sometimes 4K 60, crazy footage to all these devices, then one bottleneck in that workflow can be not having enough ports. So 3 ports here is pretty cool. Those ports on the actual device always get taken up so quickly, but I'll always take an extra port any day of the week. In many cases, it's you that's the pro rather than the device. It's how you use it, what you know. So you might want to check out Freeform Unleashed if you want to upgrade your professionalism in freeform. If you want to learn how to spend your time better and have less burnout, you can check out my Learn to Be Productive course. My courses are linked up down below, and I'll even throw in a nice little discount. It's been a while, so check that out. We still have Touch ID here. It's funny because I actually would prefer to have Face ID, or I even would like to have both. And I realized that that would be a cost thing. It would up the price. They talk about the cameras on the front here. I've got the iPad Pro over here with Face ID and I love it. It's so quick and simple and easy. And with the setup that I have right now, when I have to use Touch ID on that Mac back there, I have to like reach over to get it. And it's like, it's not as convenient as just like, hey, the computer's right in front of me, scan my face. You know what I mean? I wish that they would bring Face ID to the Macs, especially on the Pros. So overall, my initial reaction without having used this yet, is this a lazy upgrade or is it a decent upgrade, a good upgrade? I don't feel like the Apple Intelligence really adds anything to my professional workflow. If it does, it's like a very minuscule 0.0 something percent, okay? Like in the demo video, they're kind of showing off, oh, image generation, trying to make this, you know, playful, kind of kiddie looking, you know, ability to do text to image generation look really professional. It's not professional. Like it's playful and it's very kiddie, you know, like that's what it is. I talked about this in my Apple Intelligence video. Real professional people who need to generate, you know, lifelike images, stuff with text in there, they're going to use AI tools that are like Recraft. You know, they're not going to use toys. They're going to use tools that actually have a lot of power under the hood. But the 3 out of 4 boxes here that kind of package what this new upgrade brings are going to make a difference. Being able to fly through demanding tasks faster, yes. More battery life, of course. It's funny because Apple stuff tends to last for so long. You'll notice that they're comparing the new chip to the M1, right? 3.4 times faster than the M1, 3 times faster than the M1 Pro, 3.5 times faster than the M1 Max. That's totally legit for Apple to make that comparison because a lot of people don't upgrade every single year. Most people don't upgrade every single year. So you're going to be coming from a chip that's a couple to a few years old or more. But these chips and the power that they bring, they're really good already and they last you for a long time as long as you keep your computer in good shape. You know, I've got a 14-inch M2 MacBook Pro back here and it's still crunching through stuff, cutting stuff up, slicing and dicing, you know, with ease. Now, I'm starting to notice a little bit of lag and slowdown as new things that I get into require a little more horsepower under the hood. Of course, that is how things go. But I've learned from years past, you know, it's a incremental upgrade usually when I get the new processor for doing those heavy lifting sort of tasks. I mean, usually it ends up saving me like minutes, not like hours. So it's really more about the fact that Apple's silicon lets me do these things in the first place. I really like the form factor here. This is why I set my desk setup up the way that I did. It's powered by a laptop. It's anchored by a laptop rather than a desktop. I want the power, but I also want the portability. So I have that option, even though most of the time, ironically, I'm not portable. Like I'm mostly parked here at the desk, but when I need to travel, then I can bring it with me. And that's awesome. You know, I want to point out on the Apple Intelligence front, of course, there's less cores the further back in time you go, but we've got the new M4 Pro chip, okay, over on the left, M1 Pro from a while back now over on the right, and that still has Apple Intelligence, right? You can still use that. Just to kind of put things in perspective, I'm looking at the 16-inch models again, M4 on the left, M2 in the middle, M1 over on the right. Yes, you can get more unified memory now, quite a bit more, but the battery life, you know, it's really up a few hours from the M1 Pro, right? And we still have the kind of that same amount of storage that's available. For power users though, it's always the same things. Hey, look, you can get more memory here than you could before. Okay, well that's cool. But on the display side of things, really what's changed over these 3 models? Well, you had a bit less bright of a screen, right? You had an SDR 500 nit screen for the last 2 16-inch models, the M1 and the M2 models. And now you have an SDR screen that gets up to 1000 nits. It's double, right? As bright. So you can actually use it outdoors. I mean, like the chassis, the weight, it's all very similar. Camera, very similar, except now you do get that 12 megapixel center stage camera, which has support for desk view. You know, for some people, they're gonna find that useful. Is that a pro feature? I don't really know. It helps you with communication. And I guess if you're doing like a meeting, that's something, but it doesn't help you again, crunch through the heavy duty, heavy lifting tasks. But with the advanced signal processing for computational video, I mean, it is a slight upgrade there. If you're coming from the M1 version of the 16-inch, like we're comparing here, you know, you're not going to have HDMI port that supports multi-channel out. The M2 had it. Now you have it here as well. And it's kind of funny that AirPods Pro 2 get listed here over on the M4, not listed on the M2. No change in the wireless situation. Like I said, 3 Thunderbolt 5s now instead of Thunderbolt 4s. Overall, it's a subtly powerful upgrade. I mean, there's a reason why there was no event held, right? And this was just a video drop all week. You know, that sort of tells you the nature of this sort of an upgrade already. But what I'll say on the Apple Intelligence front, to sort of just wrap that up, I feel like it's not going to be game-changing for professionals in their professional workflow, even though Apple's really leaning into that marketing here on the website and in the video. But I think in the future, it could be, if it depends what Apple does, how they treat it. So, you know, like I feel like right now, and I talked about this in my recent Apple Intelligence video, Apple is sort of providing a window into the AI landscape in many ways. And you're seeing other companies kind of capitalize on that. And Apple's not yet really participating in the view through that window. They are in little ways, but not in the pro landscape as much. You know, Apple could have come out with some sort of runway or cling alternative that's sort of like the Final Cut Pro or even GarageBand of generative video. But I don't think anyone would want to use the approach that Apple has taken so far, where it's like all cartoony and basically non-professional, like Image Playground. It's in the name. It's like for kiddie stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'm curious what you're thinking about this. I mean, it's very expected, right, in terms of what we're getting. But did anything surprise you, jump out at you? Did I miss something that you think everyone needs to know about? Give me some comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.